Crime wave in America taking a horrific new turn that could be the culmination of the left's policies. Outrage growing after a brutal rape of a woman on a train outside Philadelphia. Police say other commuters took out their phones and recorded it instead of calling 911. The victim was reportedly harassed for over 40 minutes and traveled 27 stops before the suspect was arrested. The other passengers who did nothing could reportedly be charged. And as you can imagine, local authorities are furious.
People were holding their phone up in the direction of this woman being attacked. What we want everyone to be is angry, disgusted, and join us in being resolute to continue to make the system safe. When they see inappropriate behavior that you wouldn't want your 10-year-old to see, call the police. Call 911.
The details of the story get even worse. The suspect is an illegal immigrant with a very long rap sheet. He overstayed a student visa and then racked up multiple arrests and 2 misdemeanor convictions, including pleading guilty to a sexual abuse misdemeanor in 2017. He was then put in immigration detention in 2018, but was never deported. So we'll get to the immigration thing in a second, Greg, but what does it say about the culture of this country that this could happen?
Well, I'm not going to take a broad brush to the country because we're disgusted by this, which is good. What if we weren't just everybody is disgusted by this story. So that's a good sign. But it's not just about the ghoulish thug. It's about the DAs and the judges who could have prevented this, who could have kept this guy behind bars or sent him back out. And this is not an isolated occurrence. We're having these wake-up calls every week now. We've had more wake-up calls than the Motley Crew, and nothing changes. We had the father of a rape victim get arrested because he was pointing out the rapist had been free to assault his daughter after previously assaulting somebody else. That was in Loudoun County. We had a woman murdered by her ex after he was released after beating her up. That was in Virginia. Again, another left-wing DA responsible for that. You have mentally ill and drug-addicted individuals beating up elderly people in Manhattan. It's often saying very hateful things, right? But that doesn't register in legacy media because it's not the right skin color. Instead, in New York City, racism has been declared a public health crisis, right? But racism isn't going around raping people. It didn't kill the Filipino nurse in Times Square. It didn't bash Asian women in the subway. The only crime that racism fuels is the deliberate ignorance of this rising homicide and rising crime rates by guilty white leftist leaders. That's where the racism in. And we got to stop this, man, because I just don't know how a country can survive when we basically look at lawlessness as a weather pattern.
Yeah, to Greg's point, Dana, you had an immigration judge after the sexual assault said, yeah, deport the guy. And then on appeal, another panel said, no, he gets to stay. And then after the drug conviction, the sexual assault conviction, 2 more arrests in Philadelphia, sanctuary city, so he gets to stay.
I mean, this has been one of the most disturbing things I've had to report on for a while. We did this story this morning with Judge Janine, and she had some excellent points about this. One of them is that you put yourself in her shoes. So not only is she being harassed by this guy, groped by the guy, and then raped by the guy, her clothes torn off, and there are people all around, and they don't do anything. So she has the crime of the rape, the violence of that, but also she would have seen that nobody did anything. And I'm trying to put myself in their shoes. I've not witnessed a crime where I would have been asked or been compelled to do something. You'd like to think that you would. I don't understand. And when you talk about the culture, this seemed to me like something that you might only see somebody with a sick mind come up with in Hollywood. But it's reality. The other thing is, this woman, once she gets to the point where she feels like she can do something like this, I think she should sue the federal government because he should have been deported multiple times, and she deserves restitution.
She does, and they don't even have to be a hulking, masculine hero on that train. You're not asking for that. You're asking for 911. This is the train. This is the time. That's all you need to do. And they didn't do it.
This was maybe as sickening a story that anyone could imagine than to have to see it. You almost, to your point, it sounded incredulous hearing it. We seem more obsessed with making videos and having it displayed on or putting it on TikTok or Instagram or whatever it might be than this. we were all together. You were kind to have me on 9/11, and we sometimes forget that one of those planes was taken down by a group of Americans who decided we were not going to let this plane crash into the White House or the Capitol. They gave their lives. All you had to do was call the police. It's a reflection on us as a society. You're right, Greg. Our outrage is the right thing. It was the right response. But I can't get beyond how 40 minutes. How do you see another human being in front of you and not throw yourself to try to stop it? We're saying call the police. I don't know how you don't stop it. There were enough of them on the train to try to stop it.
Right.
So it's hard to comment. I just can't imagine. The sinking of culture for something like this, it's hard to describe. The pain and the fact that we have to look at something like that.
Yeah, what does it say psychologically that everybody just wanted to be a social media producer, Katie?
To me, obviously, and everybody here, and most people who read this say, it's very clear the difference between right and wrong in this scenario. But clearly, to the people on the train who took out their phone for 40 minutes, instead didn't see it the same way as right and wrong. And you're right, it wasn't just one person late at night on the train while this was happening, and maybe they would be in danger if they stepped in. Maybe there were another woman in the train car and she was terrified. There were 10 people in the train car who did absolutely nothing. And if you look back at his track record, his rap sheet, both on the local law enforcement level, the federal level, we're turning into a society in these cities where the DAs don't prosecute people of compounding this idea that criminality is okay for whatever reason. Why wasn't he deported? Was it a technicality? Was it for politically correct reasons? Why was he back on the street after committing sexual crimes in the past? And yet he's still here. And that is something you look around and people say, well, why would I call the cops when the cops can't do anything? Because that's what happens next.
Wouldn't
and then
you love to
continues.
ask Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, do you think he should have been deported?
Right. It's a great
I would
question.
love to, do you think this guy should have been deported?
Yeah.
And also at some point, there has to be a cultural, an entertainment media shift towards the revulsion. In the early 70s, it wasn't until Hollywood started doing movies like Death Wish. It was about where vigilantism suddenly became that was the scary thing. It almost is that what we have to wait for a Bernie Goetz incident like that for people to actually care? Because people are going to be left if the police aren't around and no one's doing anything. What do you have left?
That's true.
The story would be different if they called the police and the police didn't come. We have inhumanity and brutality in our society for years. This here is a different kind of story. I cannot imagine not calling the police or not trying to help an innocent woman.
Throwing your phone at his head or something.
And if anybody here had gone to another country and been arrested not once, twice, 3, 4 times, we would never be allowed to stay. Only in
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.